iOS version. The INC Sign Language Apps is a project of the Christian Society for the Deaf under the Christian Family Organizations Office of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ. It is a part of the Church's continuous intensive efforts to reach out to and care for the deaf, INC members and non-members alike. This free sign language app includes the following features: 8,000 plus vocabulary entries, all in video, customizable video playback speeds, examples of signed phrases and sentences, categorized everyday signs like alphabet, numbers, colors, greetings, educational terms, medical terms, legal terms, Iglesia ni Cristo and religious terms, and many more. User maintainable favorites category, fast search and voice search. All features are available offline. And since these sign language applications contain phrases concerning the Iglesia ni Cristo and religious terms, we can use these apps in inviting more deaf fellow men to learn the basic doctrines being taught inside the church. For more information, please visit www.iglesianicristo.net, www.facebook.com/Christian Family Organizations, www.facebook.com Christian Society for the Deaf. Thank you for your support.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to INC Radio, Central Valley, California satellite station. My name is Caitlin Bautista, and I'll be your host for this episode. Today, we're talking about personal growth, a topic that we all can relate to. What are the small steps that can lead to long-term change? What contributes to success, and what can we learn from our failures, and what can lead to progress? So I'm beyond excited to see what you all have to say. And of course, we have our guest, Jill. Jill, go ahead and introduce yourself and where you're coming from.
Hello, everyone. I am Jill San Antonio. I'm coming from Santa Maria, California. And a little bit about me is I work in the cybersecurity. I have a 4-year-old German Shepherd, and I recently took up boxing. So that's been a big hobby of mine as of lately. So that's a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for joining us on INC Radio. Thank you so much for sharing about yourself. And of course, we have our lovely co-host, Melvi. How are you doing, Melvi? And please share how you can tune in to future episodes and stay updated on all things INC Radio.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our live show. And Caitlin, super excited for you to host tonight. It looks like I made a face earlier in the intro. I just saw that. But anyway, I'm excited. So thank you. Thank you, listeners and viewers, for being here. Now, if you like our show, don't forget to hit that like button, also the notification bell, so you'll never, ever miss any of our episodes. Tonight is indeed a very timely topic, so stay tuned. And don't forget to also subscribe to our INC Radio DZM 954. And if you continue to watch our show, just go into YouTube and type in INC Radio Central Valley, California. So we're looking forward to also having our guests and get to know her more. Jill, she's been here with us before too. So don't forget to also like and type your comments, because we will be reading some of them as well later on. We got a lot of things in store for you, so don't go away. All right, back to you, Caitlin.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that, Melvi. So let's get into our discussion. So we'll start out by asking Jill here, what are some goals that you have achieved? And additionally, what are some that you've been working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I hear this question, what are goals that I've achieved? The first thing that pops into my mind are, what are some big milestones? What are some big goals or even achievements that I've accomplished over the last, years or so? However, I feel like oftentimes we also overlook all of our small daily wins that are not often celebrated. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we get so caught up into our daily lives, our regular routines, that we kind of go into autopilot and we don't realize and give ourselves more grace about showing up. So that's something that I've been trying to implement more into my life. And the reason why I bring this up is because I recently, hit my 3-year mark working in the cybersecurity space. And when it first happened, I was like, oh, okay, I worked for 3 years. But in reality, it's those small daily wins that helped me achieve to that point. And in those 3 years, I was able to get a promotion, which was also really great. But again, it's those small daily wins where I look back and I don't give myself enough credit. Those times where I didn't want to go to work and I still do it. I'm also, I'm really into fitness, and it's those days where I don't want to go to the gym, but really I end up going, and I don't give myself enough credit for those. So I think that's what, some of the goals that I currently am currently achieving and looking to achieve in the future as well.
Yeah, of course. And first of all, congratulations to 3 years in your career. That's so exciting. And like what you mentioned, it's those small wins every day. Simply like getting up out of bed in the morning, making yourself some breakfast, stepping out of the door, going out to get some fresh air. It's those little things that can contribute to some success. I'll even ask Melvi, like, what's a goal that you have been working on?
I love what both of you said as far as your feedback when it comes to what Jill said, also, Caitlin, the small wins. Sometimes we get so sidetracked or easily distracted by a lot of the external factors in our lives that sometimes instead of focusing on one thing at a time or focusing on absolutely our one goal each day, even just from simple to, the complex ones, if, with that comes with experience, of course. And the small wins really matter because then you have that affirmation to yourself that you actually did something for you, not for others. It can also benefit others in a good way, but when we focus on ourselves, it keeps us intact and it helps with our whole well-being, right? And so with me, my goal that I actually achieved lately that I am so proud of, because it's been on and off, and as the saying goes, consistency is the key. And just like Jill, I also love to do exercise. So my coworkers and I came up with the 30-day challenge, and whoever does not complete the challenge for one day, they have to pay the jar $1. So there were 2 of us out of 6 who completed the 30-day challenge, and I was one of them. So I got to treat myself a portion of that jar and ate some sweets. My small win became, that big win of me treating myself after a 30-day of hard work, because it takes a lot of discipline, right, Jill, Caitlin? I mean, in anything that we do in life, whether if it's studying, whether if it's achieving a degree, or just anything that we want to do in life, it takes self-discipline and a lot of work. So, but yes, that's what I'm proud of. And I'm still doing it until now. I haven't stopped. So yay!
Yes, all the applause to you, Melvi. Oh my. What was it, like $1 a day that you missed? There would be $30 in that jar for me. I'm sorry, like.
But you get to save money, but what's the sacrifice, right?
Yes, of course. Well, on the opposite end of that, I'd also like to ask you both, how do you stay motivated when growth can kind of feel stagnant or it feels like you're not going anywhere? Jill, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So when I'm feeling unmotivated, the first thing I do is pray. So, I kind of just slow things down a little bit. I definitely cleanse myself from any socials or screen time for sure, because I feel like that's kind of what builds up a lot of overwhelmment. But essentially what I also like to do is journal. So when I'm feeling unmotivated, It's more so a deeper feeling or emotion behind it. And the best way outside of, course, prayer is journaling. So I just kind of let all my emotions, how I'm feeling at that moment, what I want to do, just kind of, like I said, let it out in terms of writing. And surprisingly, that will always give me motivation. And I recently heard a quote, and not only just like, through journals and then everything, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts. And I try to do, pretty much anything that will give me that boost of dopamine, essentially. But also, too, I recently, heard this quote, and it said, "You are only one decision away from getting back on track." And I thought about that, so deeply. And anytime I feel like I missed a day at the gym, or maybe I ate something super unhealthy, I'm like, okay, you know what? It's okay. It happened. Now I'm just going to take that back and get back on track, and it's okay. So yeah, that's kind of how I stay motivated.
Yeah, I love that. Like, if you're feeling kind of stuck, you're kind of saying like, oh, I can't believe I did that today. I can't believe I didn't do this today. Like, writing it out like in a journal is really good, because bottling those emotions and not telling anyone, not writing it down, it's unhealthy, because it's like pent up anger or sadness or frustration, and that's not good for you. It's not making you happy. So of course, it's always good to journal. Always remember your values, your beliefs. Prayer, of course, is really important. So that was a wonderful answer, Jill. Thank you. And how about you, Melvi?
When I feel stuck, I get myself unstuck. And I remind myself why I'm doing it in the first place. And yes, journaling, and sometimes I'm typing it on whatever I can put my hands on. Whether if it's a post-it, my journal, if I forget my journal, I type it up on my phone. And believe it or not, I also set my alarm. And I set my watch with my phone, and it'll say, "Hi, gorgeous. Today you did this," or, like a simple reminder of,
Yeah.
like, the positivity that would
Mhm.
that you have to look forward to something good, and try not to dwell on it, because when you dwell on it, then you're basically letting the negativity consume you. So what I've also been practicing is really, really honing that mindset of having positive thinking, although sometimes it is hard. So I also pray. I pray when things get tough, when I feel like I'm on the edge and I feel like I don't know what to do. I'm somehow lost. And it's normal for us to encounter that. But what's important is to acknowledge it in the first place. And at the same time, we have to do something about it, because no one else can. Whatever we do in life, it is up to us what we can do about it.
I love that.
So,
I love
yeah,
that you mentioned acknowledging our feelings
yes,
and knowing that it's there, and then also acknowledging where it's coming from and getting to the deep root of that
yeah.
emotion. I love that. That's a great
Yeah,
answer.
because sometimes I say, "Oh, so this is really making me sad. This situation is making me sad, or this person hurt me, but how do I go about this?" And acts of kindness, I think we've mentioned this before in the previous shows, it goes a long way, and there's no cost to that. As long as we do our part, whether for ourselves or towards others, then we already know that it's already the bright side of things, that we're already on that situation, and we don't have to worry about it. And then what we have to do is basically control what we can, and what we can't control, well, we'll leave it to,
Yeah, it's kind of
Right.
like changing your perception of how you think about yourself. Like, you thoughts, you have like what you think affects you. You have your behavior, what you actually do about your thoughts, and then your emotions, how you feel about
Mhm.
that behavior, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really into like psychology, so it just reminded me that I have seen. I just had to share that. So it's really interesting, kind of like connecting your thoughts, your behaviors, and emotions into one, and then journaling through prayer, talking it out with someone. So it's really good. Again, thank you so much for sharing. I love you guys. You guys are great. You guys have really great answers. So on to our next question. Can you share with us a moment that felt like a failure, but you end up learning a lot from it, so it ended up being a lesson? Jill, we'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah. So one thing that really sticks out, I mean, there's plenty of, I can go on and on, but one moment that really sticks out was actually around this time last year. So I love to travel. I love, going on different trips and experiences. But around this time, I was actually traveling to Europe, and super long story. I will spare you all the time, but essentially, I missed a layover, or missed a flight, and I was in the Atlanta airport. I was by myself. And if you've ever been in that airport, it's not small. So I was in line, ready to speak with a customer representative at the time. And, she essentially got me into the next flight, which was very grateful, or I was very grateful. But in that moment, in between that time, I was feeling very anxious. When I was missing my connecting flight, I just kept looking at the time, like, when are we boarding? Are we going to go? Like, am I going to make it? So I had all of these emotions just going through my mind, and traveling is already so stressful. And especially if you're traveling abroad and going international. So again, long story short, I missed my flight, was able to get onto the next one. And when I got to my destination, safely, thank God. But I found out that if I had gotten there sooner, during the time that I was expecting to come, there was a mishap with my stay. So it was either I would, had gotten there when I would have gotten there and not have a place to stay for the night in Europe, or I missed my flight and, go about it and stay positive and get there safely, and then end up, continue on with my stay. So I felt like, during the time, it felt like a failure because, I did miss a flight and I was going to Europe. But then all in all, when I got there, I got there safe. I was in a better place, and I also had a place to stay that week. So that was definitely a blessing.
First of all, I'm so glad that you got to your destination safely. If I was in your shoes, I would be so stressed as well. But then again, you said you focused on the positive. Like, if you didn't get there later, you wouldn't have a place to stay, but you ended up having a place to stay. So again, just looking at the bright side of things instead of focusing on the negatives, which is so important for personal growth and progress.
And in between that time, as I was looking around, at least I was by myself. I didn't have any dependents. I didn't have children. So that already, I was like, okay, at least I'm by myself. I'm okay. I don't have to worry about anybody else or anybody else's safety. So yeah, that was a journey for sure.
On the back for that, because if I was in an airport by myself, just tears, I fear. So, okay. So before we get into the next segment of our show, we'd like to share our recent activity we had last week, which is our CFO Cares. So if we can go ahead and play that video. And yes.
The District of Central Valley, California held a CFO or Christian Family Organization Cares activity in the respective local congregations in the district on Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, where all the brethren gathered to socialize, enjoy delicious food, and spend quality time together. Both indoor and outdoor activities such as singing, playing sports, board games, and even a relaxation station were enjoyed by all the members and guests who attended the event. This is one of the many activities promoted and conducted in the Church of Christ to strengthen relationships among brethren and families, enhance spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical well-being, and foster a sense of belonging and support. The day was filled with laughter from children to adults and was indeed a very productive day. Goodie bags were also distributed to everyone, filled with some essential items that made the event an even more memorable experience. Through the leadership, guidance, love, and support of the church administration, the brethren around the world remain strong and united in all the activities in the Church of Christ. This is Sister Melvi Tamayo, and thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
All right, thank you for that. And thank you for your continuous support with CFO activities. We actually have a super wide scale activity coming up tomorrow in Vallejo, California, our Care for Humanity. So we all hope to see you there as we help our communities out and feeling the love of the brotherhood. So Melvi, what's going on in our Vine chat? Who's in our comments right now?
I saw my sister and my mom
Yes, hi.
chatting away. And of course, our usual. So say hello to the hi mom, hi Melanie, safe travels. I think I know they're traveling tonight. So first, of course, we have Mario Oka. He's our, one of the listeners that's always tuning in. Good. He said, good day here in the Philippines and enjoy watching here on INC Radio, Central Valley, California. Thank you, Mario. From Danny Aglibay, he said, greetings to all the brethren of CVC from Orosi, local district of Central Valley, California. From Andre Fajardo, he said, happy viewing, everyone, and thank you, INC Radio, CVC. Thank you, too. From Nathaniel Russell, he said, greetings from South Central States in Fort Worth, Texas. Hi, Nate. And then, of course, from our brother Isaias Antinu, our district minister, he said, hello to all brethren of CVC. See you tomorrow for our Care for Humanity. And of course, my mom said, I'm trying to look for her message. She said, hello to my daughters, Melvi, Melanie, and Melissa, the 3 M's. And from Melanie Cebu, she said, entrust your goals and aspirations to God. Only God knows what's best for us. And of course, with devotional prayers. Absolutely. And I think we're going to tackle that in a little bit with some of Caitlin's discussion or questions.
Thank you so much, Melvin, for reading our Vine chat. Again, thank you for always supporting INC Radio California. So to move on with our discussion, I'd like to ask, how has your faith helped you stay rooted to who you are, and how has it been a foundation to how you set your goals? Jill, we'll start with you again.
I'm muted. Yeah, I love this question. Thank you so much. So the way I, always prioritize my faith towards anything. And the reason for that is because when I've noticed just through experiences or even just life, that whenever I prioritize my faith, everything else just flows. I obviously, we're human, so we have our own limitations. And if I, just focus on my own limitations and not on my faith, then, I get overwhelmed. I have feelings of anxiety. And when I put my faith first, I notice that everything else just becomes so calm and peaceful. And I know that there are other, lessons or reasons as to whatever it is that I may be going through. But yeah, essentially just prioritizing my faith and knowing that everything else is going to be okay.
I love that answer. It's kind of like, not a mantra, but like a saying that I go by. When you stay firm in your faith, everything will fall into place. So yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Thank you so much. And a question that I would also like to ask the both of you is, if you were to explain what your personal journey has been like, your personal growth journey has been like in one word, what word would that be? I'll give you 1 second to think about that. So, because for me, I would say it's definitely been reflective. I feel like I've been telling so many people about this, but I'm actually graduating from college next week, and I'm super excited. And so these past 4 years have just been so reflective, just looking back on who I was and who I am now. It's been a very rewarding experience, so therefore reflective. So how about you, Jill? What do you think? What's your word?
Mine would be, I would say, a blessing. There's a saying a lot of people say, and it's it's either a blessing or a lesson or a blessing, and I would have to actually disagree, because I feel like everything is always a lesson and a blessing, no matter what it is, whether it's good or bad. So just looking back into my journey of just personal growth, or even just overall in general, it's all a blessing. I'm alive. I have there's always going to be something to be thankful for.
I love that. Just taking everything in as a blessing rather than just seeing things in a negative light. I love that. How about you, Melby? What's your word to describe your journey of growth?
Caught me off guard.
Yes.
You answered it where I'm still thinking, but the one word that comes to mind is purposeful. So you asked me earlier what is it about faith that made things happen for me throughout my journey. and life is hard. So I'm trying to contain myself, but yes, my life has been a zigzag. It's been a challenge here and there, but with faith became a meaning. There's a meaning now, and with meaning, with it comes with a purpose. So when we have our why and our purpose, then and you couple that, of course, with your faith and entrusting everything to God at the same time, then we know that we have what it takes to make it through and through each day.
All right. Where are my tissues? I mean, what am I
keep it short? I don't know.
what? Okay, but seriously, like personal growth, like all our words, it's reflective, it's purposeful, and it's full of blessings. It's full of lessons, and that's what life is about. So that about, I would say, kind of wraps up our show for tonight. So if you have any shout outs that you would like to do, I'd let you go ahead and do that. Jill, do you have anyone to shout out this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, I am an aunt of 6. So AJ, Tyler, Esri, Layton, Derek, Larissa. I know the last time Esri was watching, and I'm sorry I didn't shout you out, Esri, last time, but hi to my entire family, to the local of Santa Maria. Hello, everybody. And yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jill. And we hope to see you again. Wink, wink. How about you, Melvi? Anyone that you would like to shout out?
Yes, of course. Hello to all my family, my mom, my dad, my 2 sisters, and of course, all my nephews and nieces. There are too many to mention. And all of my loved ones and all of the members in all of our local and district, of course, here in Central Valley, and those of you out there in the world who is viewing and watching our shows every Friday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Thank you so much for all of your support, as always. And safe travels, everyone who will be there tomorrow in Vallejo. And take care always. And again, don't forget to please press that like button. Or is it click? Smash?
Right. Thank you, Melvi. I would like to shout out the entire district of Central Valley, California. As Melvi mentioned earlier, safe travels to everyone who's traveling to Vallejo tomorrow. Shout out to my friends and my family all tuning in. I love you all so much. And of course, we'd also like to give our many thanks to our spiritual leaders, our INC radio station manager, Brother Wally Taray, our CEBSI CEO and CFO President, Brother Angelo Iranio V. Manalo, and above all, our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for always supporting Central Valley, California satellite station, where all of our conversations feel like home. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a great weekend, everyone.
We are presenting the Iglesia ni